Red, I'm in the studio back again with another video. Today we're reacting to Anna Horror Stories, 3 true scary house sitting stories. Now I know it's been a long time since I reacted to one of these scary horror stories, but I'm about to get back at it, y'all. And every Thursday I'm about to react to one of these. So y'all gonna be getting one scary story reaction from me every Thursday. Let's get into this, guys.
One summer vacation, I was feeling bored and wanted to make some extra money. My mom asked around and found out that a family she knew was looking for a house sitter for when they went out of town for a weekend. They were willing to pay well just to have someone hang out at their house and keep watch. I jumped at the opportunity.
Dang, just hanging out at their house, just chilling?
Thinking it sounded like such an easy task. My mom connected me with the family and they told me their address and when I should come. The day I got there, I was amazed at how fancy the house was. It looked very expensive and I could see now why they felt like they needed to have a house sitter when they went away. The house was in the country without any other homes nearby.
In the country?
The property was all fenced.
Hold on. In a country with no one else around, don't get me wrong, like sometimes I be thinking like that'd be cool to live in a country where you ain't got annoying neighbors and blah 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 blah, but at the same time it's like, dang, like you by yourself. If anything happens, there's no witnesses, you know?
Fenced in, and there was a gate at the end of the driveway. There was a call button next to the gate that connected their home phone, so visitors could announce themselves when they arrived. I was impressed by their level of security. Before leaving, the mother gave me some brief instructions and told me to help myself to any food or drinks they had. When I was all alone in the house, I decided to take a little tour and wandered around looking at all the beautiful rooms. I then laid my bag down in the guest room where I would be sleeping at night. I then plopped down on the bed and decided to watch YouTube videos until I felt ready to go to sleep. It was nearing midnight and my eyelids were beginning to feel heavy. Suddenly, the landline phone next to the bed rang, startling me. I glanced at the screen and saw that it said front gate. Who could be at the front gate? I picked up the phone and answered it. There was only silence. I felt uneasy. Could someone be pranking me? I decided to get out of bed and double check that all the doors were still locked. I was making my
X9, you alone in the country?
way downstairs when all of a sudden I heard glass breaking on the main level, followed by several footsteps. I froze in sheer panic, turning around.
That house is big. I would go down to the lowest level. I know they got a basement. I'm hiding in the basement or something, you know. They gotta have something where you can hide behind.
And racing back upstairs as quickly as I could. I went back to the guest bedroom and turned off the lights before closing the door. I went to lock it, but was startled to see that there was no lock. At this point, I was way too scared to even consider going out into the hallway, so I dove under the bed to hide. I grabbed my cell phone and quickly dialed 911. When the operator answered, I told them what address I was at and that I thought there was an intruder. They instructed me to stay where I was and to be sure to be as quiet as possible. Suddenly, I heard footsteps in the hall and I whispered to the operator that the intruder was getting closer. I muted my phone and laid it face down on the carpet so the light from the screen wouldn't give away my hiding spot. The door to the guest bedroom creaked open and a male's voice called out saying that if I was in there, I should reveal myself or things were going to get bad for me. Of course, I remained silent. Whoever the person was, they didn't seem interested in stealing anything. Rather, they were just rummaging around. Just when I thought he was going to find me, I heard sirens in the distance. The man must have heard it too because he sprinted from the room and I could hear his footsteps retreating from the steps. The front door was broken down and there was lots of yelling. Finally, I heard footsteps approach the guest room again. This time, it was a police officer. After he identified himself, I climbed out from under the bed. The intruder had been captured and the house was clear. It turned out that the man had seen me drive into the property, and when he saw the family leave, he realized I was there by...
So he was gonna come after her? What do he want with her?
...by myself. He had likely intended to traffic me. The police told me I was lucky to be alive. Growing up, we lived across the street from an elderly woman whose husband had died a couple of years ago. She was super sweet, so when she asked me to house sit for her overnight, I couldn't say no. All I had to do was water her plants, feed her cats, and basically just make sure nothing happened to the house. We didn't live in an area where there was a lot of crime, so it was unlikely that me staying over was even necessary. But it gave her peace of mind, and that was what was important. The house was older, but very tidy and homey. There were black and white pictures all over the walls that featured the woman's husband and their now grown children. She didn't care much about modern technology, and the only electronics she had seen in the house was an old boxy television that got a couple of channels. I was grateful I had my phone with me to entertain myself during my stay. The woman had a lot of cats, which meant there was cat fur everywhere. The cats were friendly enough, but
I can't stand going to people's house and they got a lot of cats and cat furs everywhere. So you trying not to sit down because you don't want cat fur to get on you, you know?
didn't seem to pay much attention to me. Strangely, they were very curious about the old leather rocking chair that sat in the corner of the room. Even though they seemed to lay on all the other furniture in the house, they wouldn't get up on the armchair. Instead, they just sat in a circle around it, staring up, almost as if someone was sitting there.
Okay.
I never owned a cat, so I had no idea what was
The house is probably hunted with a dead spirit or something.
normal and not normal for them. I just filled up their food and water dishes and then sat on the couch where I scrolled through TikTok for a couple of hours. It was nearly silent in the house when all of a sudden I heard a bang come from the kitchen, startling me. It sounded like something clattering on the floor. I jumped up to investigate and quickly saw what had caused the noise. It was a small Creamic mug that had fallen off the refrigerator. I picked it up to examine it and noticed that it had the words, "World's Best Husband" engraved in it. I looked around the kitchen to see what would have caused it to fall, but saw nothing. I carefully placed the magnet back on the refrigerator and went back to the couch. I went back to TikTok for a couple.
Maybe the hunted ghost person who's in the house is the old lady's dead husband.
Couple of minutes until I suddenly heard a creaking noise. My mouth dropped open as I saw the rocking chair slowly rocking. I jumped up in shock and the chair stopped moving. I looked around to see if there was an air vent or anything around that would have caused the chair to move, but I saw nothing. The cats continued to stare at the chair with interest, not paying me any mind. That night I slept on the couch, but it was a pretty terrible night's sleep. Every little sound creeped me out. I tried to convince myself that it was just the house settling, but it felt so much like there was someone there with me. Around 5 a.m., I jolted awake to a whirring noise. I flipped on the lights and ran to the kitchen where I saw that the coffee maker had started. It looked too old to be on any sort of timer. Someone would have to physically turn it on. After that, I stayed awake until the woman got home in the morning. When I told her of the strange events that happened when she was gone, she told me that it had just been her deceased husband, Benny, saying hello. In high school, I was saving up to buy my first car, so I was looking to bring in as much side money as possible. I saw a post on a local Facebook page from a guy who needed someone to watch his house for just one night while he was away. I had never met the guy, but it seemed like an easy enough job, so I decided to go for it. I contacted him through Facebook and he gave me his address. On the day he had requested me to come, I put his address into my phone and used the Maps app to locate his house. I'm not being judgmental, but it was sort of in the bad part of town where my parents always told me to stay out of. I did my best to shake it off, and
Dude, I'm turning right back around. Never mind.
When I arrived at the house, I went in feeling optimistic. The man greeted me and told me that if anyone happened to ring the doorbell, I should open the door for no one. I agreed and he took off, promising to be back the next morning. Everything started perfectly normal. I just watched TV and hung out until it was time for bed. But around 2 a.m., there was a loud banging from the front door. I could hear men screaming about wanting their money and that if the door wasn't opened for them, they were going to force it open. I peeked out the window and was shocked to see a large group of men that looked a lot like gang members. They were buff, covered in tattoos, and wore ski masks. Several of them carried guns.
So it makes you think the guy who's owned that house, what did he do to get those guys to come after him, you know?
I realized that I was about to get caught up in a dangerous situation that had nothing to do with me, and I had to act quickly. I called 911 and breathlessly explained the situation. The operator instructed me to barricade myself in a room, arm myself with anything I could find, and stay quiet. I grabbed a long steak knife from the kitchen and sprinted upstairs into the nearest bedroom. There was a heavy wooden desk, which I shoved against the door. I then huddled in the corner of the room, just praying that the police would get there in time. I heard a loud bang from downstairs and knew that the door had been kicked down. It was only a matter of time now. But right when I thought I was done, sirens erupted outside the house. The gang members scattered, running out of the house in all directions. When the coast was clear, an officer put me into his patrol car and drove me back home. It turned out that the owner of the house was a dealer who owed the gang money. They were coming to beat him up and likely kill him. I'm forever grateful that the police arrived on time. Have you ever been creeped out when you're house sitting? Drop a comment and don't forget to like and subscribe. Sleep tight.
That's crazy. Like this video if you guys like me reacting to these horror stories, and I will definitely be posting one every Thursday, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned. I'll be back with more videos, and I'm out.